Welcome to the Forward Report, your weekly foreign policy show that gives you the gory details of geopolitics with hopefully some laughs along the way. That's T-Seps in the virtual studio. Travis Irvine, Columbia Journalism School grad. I'm your foreign policy zaddy, Seena Ghaznavi.
FPC.
So curious about what's happening around the world all the time, and also dooming and glooming about what's happening in the world. But you know what, Travis, as you've said, when the news is terrible, we make it bearable.
We have to. That's all we can do right now.
No choice. Thanks for all the comments. Sign up for the newsletter, forreportshow.com, the4reportlpn@gmail.com. Thanks for the emails. Thanks for the mean ones. Thanks for the nice ones. Thanks for everything in between. We'll take them all. I like to wash in your hate. It's like Old Spice. It's Old Spice.
Old Spice hate. And we're using all the Old Spice in those commercials.
Yeah. I'm getting spicy. I'm going to get very spicy. We have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about a quick Gaza update. It's Wednesday, October 15th. So, of course, everything will change by Friday. But whatever we're talking about, rest assured. But later in the show, we have an interview that we pre-recorded with Jena Friedman. If you don't know who she is, what is happening? What's wrong with you? It's okay. We're going to change that today. She's an incredible comedian. She's got amazing credits. And she is a generational political wit. And, you know, I just cannot wait for you to take a listen or watch on YouTube, wherever you are. Travis and I had a great time with her.
I mean, she's literally, like you said, I think one of the best political comedians of our generation. Daily Show writer, producer, Oscar-nominated writer for the Borat sequel. Very, very excited to have her, and I always love hearing what she has to say.
Amazing. But first, pure comedy.
Oh, great.
No. Oh, sorry. No. Sorry, I read that wrong. It's the ceasefire deal.
Oh, pure chaos. Great.
Pure chaos. You've seen it in the news, but what is happening now with it? Where do we stand? What are the pressure points? And after several days of closed-door meetings, Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey as mediators with old Wyckoff and Kushner, well, they all got the deal done. And
I mean, at first, you hear that combination of people and countries, you're like, is this a World Cup party? There's no way this is working out.
Yeah. What kind of cup? Anyways, there are going to be 5 pillars to this, which is, ironically, is slightly Islamic adjacent, I guess. But the pillars of the deal, and again, we said the deal's done, but you're going to find out, and if you haven't already, the word done is going to mean a lot. There's a lot of gray area in that word done.
Yes.
But what we have as of today on October 15th, there is an immediate ceasefire, which we'll talk about if that is actually holding, which it kind of is and kind of is not, and a phased Israeli withdrawal. We're seeing that play out now. Israeli forces are slowly pulling back. There will be more IDF withdrawals as time goes on, but these steps are tied to other factors like deployment of the International Stabilization Force that we've talked about last week. But what has happened is that there was a drone strike that happened. There were, I think, 9 Palestinians killed in Gaza because they crossed some sort of line that was like they weren't supposed to cross, which is like, what are we doing? It's a ceasefire means ceasefire. But, you know, these things are, unfortunately, again, when we go through this, like, hang on, okay? Don't slip down the rage hole, okay?
Right.
Stand with us.
Yes.
Stay in the cut, all right? Stay in the pocket. Imagine you're a quarterback. You're about to get concussed by a giant linebacker, but you still have to throw the ball, okay? That's what I want everyone to feel like. You don't see the linebacker coming. You don't see the rage coming because you got to stand strong in the pocket, okay? First football reference on the show. That felt strange.
You know it's football season, but we're working that into a Gaza peace deal. Here we go.
But that's happening, and honestly, it's to be expected that there would be some skirmish violence of some kind. I'm not being glib about this because people have died, but that's going to happen a little bit. It doesn't seem like it has destroyed the entire ceasefire deal thus far. The second pillar, again, there's some more gray area here even with this one, is that there's a staged hostage for prisoner exchange, or the captive, however way you want to define it. And every living Israeli captive or hostage held in Gaza is to be released in exchange for Palestinian prisoners in timed stages. There was already a change by Israel. I don't know if you saw this, Travis, but there was this guy that was serving a life sentence, Marwan Barghouti. And I'm sorry if I pronounced his name incorrectly, but he was a leader in the Fatah party, which is the old ruling party there, and he's a potential successor to Mahmoud Abbas if he ever gets out of prison. He's been serving a life sentence for being part of the Second Intifada, allegedly. He is saying that he's innocent, but he was supposed to be, when they initially had the deal with Hamas, he was listed as one of the people that was going to be released. And then Israel unilaterally said, no, that's not going to happen. We're not doing that. One of the reasons that people are speculating that the reason is because the Palestinian Authority and people of Palestine have not a lot of faith in Abbas, that this guy is an extremely unifying figure, and that Israel be, hesitant to release someone that would unite a nationalist movement by the Palestinians. And, when there was a nationalist movement years ago, things got a little crazy, and now they're worried again. But then I'm also thinking, okay, there's a unifying political figure in prison that you're keeping there, even though politically and like emotionally, all the people want him out. Bit of a Mandela thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how do you not see this coming? Like, what? Just leave. Just let him go. Just release him. You're making, even if your thought is, I don't want to release this guy because he's going to unify everyone, aren't you just making him more popular by doing this move?
That's the thing, right? You're putting your thumb on the scales, but everyone sees what you're doing at this point. So the only nice thing I have to say about this process, because I agree with you.
Wait, strap in, everyone. The
only nice thing is that it's all out in the open right now. Like what you're saying is
true.
When everyone is at the negotiating table, you get to see who everyone really is. And because beyond that, I agree with you. Everything is in theory. Everything is temporary. We don't know what's going to hold until it holds. So yeah, right away. Why would we want a guy who's going to unify everyone to be out of prison? Keep him in prison. You're just making him more powerful in a way.
So the third pillar, massive humanitarian aid flows. So we've talked about the trucks going into Gaza. Let me just check our Gaza-aid-data.gov from .Israel site. That's been a really great resource on tracking everything that's happening coming out there. Looks like you have so August, still half as much aid going in via land. September, less than that. And so the aid is a huge problem. And because Israel is saying, or at least as of today, from what I'm reading, 7 out of the 28 remains of dead bodies have been returned by Hamas to Israel, and they're searching for the rest. It's almost like if they carpet bombed everything so much they can't find these dead bodies. So it's terrible. It's terrible. And so as a result, though, what was supposed to happen is that like UN was supposed to be able to come in, aid was supposed to flood in like it was back, a year ago, but we're not in that place. Israel has blocked the Rafah crossing as we sit here today, and aid has been held up right now, and they've been limiting the aid. So it's kind of crazy that this is being held up because the aid is desperately needed.
Right.
And I don't know. And there's no recourse either, because if Hamas commits any sort of violent act at all as a retaliation to this, then everything's gonna fall apart again.
Right. And I would say this third pillar for me, and probably for most people, is the most important part because it involves the citizens. Whatever power struggles are happening between Hamas and Israel's leadership, the fact is the majority of the casualties have been innocent women, children, things like that. They need the aid was the thing that really needs to happen, and it needed to happen 2 years ago.
So I don't know how this is going to play out, hopefully in the next couple of days, but like honestly, it feels like a lot of bodies that they have to find. It's not just a few. It seems like a lot. And
Yes.
I don't know how organized they are over there when it comes to this stuff. This is so crazy to be talking about.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree. And again, it's not to be glib, but like you said, when you carpet bomb an entire area, it's going to be very hard to figure out where these things are, these physical things. So
it's just where are we? Okay, fourth pillar, international monitoring and security arrangements. We've talked about this last week. So U.S. personnel will monitor compliance, help secure aid routes, and verify that both sides stick to the ceasefire. We'll see if that is I'm sure there's a lot of phone calls that are like, stop shooting, stop droning, stop all this stuff right now. We've got to get this thing across the finish line here. And then there's that coalition of countries that are going to come in as like an international stabilization force. So that's supposed to be happening sometime soon. And I think, again, it's going to take more negotiations to get to that point. It's going to take more. And then the other thing is like, okay, will current Hamas fighters going to become part of the new police force in that, in that area or in Palestine? So we'll see how that works. Fifth, Reconstruction and governance. And so the agreement does lay out rebuilding Gaza's shattered infrastructure and creating a temporary administrative arrangement. That's where Tony Blair is in there and Trump is in there, and the Kushners. Every real estate person gets to wet their beak apparently on this stuff, and it's going to be really, really crazy. As they said in The Godfather, you got to pay the toll there, and it's going to be a mess. I don't know. This is I don't think the saddest part of this is that I've seen no discussion about a path to Palestinian statehood. I have seen no discussion about Palestinian self-determination. And I don't think that is going to be in the cards anytime soon, unfortunately.
Right, which is tragic because as we covered on our show, looking into the history of all this, there was originally way back, in the 1930s, I think we were saying, also an international quote unquote effort to control the area. It's almost like history, a little bit of history repeating, Seena.
Yeah,
so
it is
we'll see
terrible rhyme. Yeah, and I think, there's going to be a lot of risks that are going to be involved. Okay, let's talk about them real quick here, right? So, let's say either side drags their feet. There's going to be verification problems of either side holding up their end of the deal. If Israel delays withdrawal or Hamas holds back hostages or the remains of them, whether they're doing so purposely or not, it doesn't even matter. If they don't get them that, what is the action of the other side going to be? The only thing keeping this together is going to be independent verification by the UN or other organizations. Okay, then you could have instability inside Gaza, right? And there are reports that clashes within Gaza among Hamas and other rival militias are starting to pop up. Okay, so if you can imagine, if you're a rival militia, you see Hamas negotiating or not actually being able to negotiate a better deal for you, you could be upset. If those continue to wreck the ceasefire from within, especially if aid convoys or monitors come under fire, I mean, that would make, Israel really excited and happy to go back in and what they would call finish the job. Then inside Israel, you have a ton of political fragility in there. Their coalition government is under pressure from hardliners and the hostage families, so that to get the remains and all these things. Political support of the deal could waver, and then implementation could stall very fast because within the government, they have to vote on the military operations to withdraw the IDF completely. So it's not just like a Netanyahu thing. There has to be some coalition support there. And then, again, the humanitarian shortfalls. Even if the Rafah crossing opens up, you're going to have maybe issues with aid coming in. And then, again, we've talked about this before. The biggest risk is that they had a military solution They've talked lightly about a political solution. Right now, what you're seeing is the end of the military campaign, and there's some skirmishes happening. But I think the reason you have a lot of these risks is because there's no solid political solution. There is more like giving up or acquiescing to whatever deal points Trump has. And by the way, we're all here because Netanyahu got a little too above, he got a little too cocky and he bombed Qatar.
Right.
And the Qataris called Trump and they were like, that's not okay. Don't you want a Trump golf course here?
Right.
And
Don't you want that big plane, that big fancy plane?
And he's like, I got it. Don't worry about it. And then he calls Netanyahu. He's like, you got to make a deal now. Now you got to make a deal. Now you have to do this. You totally screwed me on this thing. And so I don't know how long that leverage is going to last from Trump towards Netanyahu, because at a certain point, Netanyahu could be like, all right, so then I'm going to be just waiting you out until you're a lame duck president. And then I can just do whatever I want. There could be a lot of things that happen here. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. So, well, we know one thing about Netanyahu. He's got longevity. He's outlasted so many presidents here in the 21st century already. But
I don't want to take away from the fact that this has stopped the, relentless killing of so many Palestinians. I think a lot of people are getting relief. I've seen really heartwarming videos of, prisoners and hostages coming home, seeing their families. I've seen some really dark ones of people realizing they've lost their families when they come home. Is like really crazy. There is to say that there's a winner in any of this is not appropriate, and because there isn't. And
no.
I don't think people understand that. And I keep going back to this thing of how easily we are able to dehumanize another group of people when it comes to these things. And I have to say, I think religion does a lot of this for us. When you base your view of the world on the fantastical, you hijack your critical thought. You hijack your ability to have that strong complexity live inside of you, when you can say there is an absolute bad guy and an absolute good guy, and I'm on the good guy side. And I think that for me is what gets me a little uncomfortable and not so optimistic about all of this. I don't know. What do you think?
Right.
You're a devout Christian.
Sure, as you can tell by my journalism hat. No, but I am a historian. My minor in undergrad was in history. And so what I think, war is chaotic, war is hell, but then peace is fragile, right? And you always see this in the rebuilding phase of all the great conflicts throughout history. In the United States, rebuilding the South was not easy. You could even argue that eventually that failed after Reconstruction was ended, after Ulysses S. Grant's presidency. And you see the same thing again. We talked about World War I and World War II and how this area of the world, the Middle East or the West Asia, right? That's what we call it now. I've been calling it that. I've been calling it that in casual
and people are like, where?
And people are very confused. So,
where is that?
We'll get there eventually. But I mean, you look at after World War I, World War II, not just in West Asia, but in Europe, they didn't rebuild correctly after World War I, which is what led us to the Nazis taking over Germany and led us to World War II. After World War II, the Marshall Plan, again, international efforts, you name it, everyone was very intent on keeping some type of peace intact. But even that led to the rise of the Soviet Union and the Cold War, which lasted another, 40 plus years. And we're even having repercussions from that. So all things begat all things, as we say in my good Christian book. And
yes.
And that is kind of where I feel we're at.
I think one of the things that we should look out for, too, is like the economic risks that are involved globally right now. I think the stock market's going to just completely tank. The dollar's going down. There's all these moves that are happening that could cause a lot of like global uncertainty economically. And as we know, and it made me think of this because you were talking about what happened after World War I, what led to World War II is the economic strife in Germany. When people are upset economically, or they aren't able to feed themselves, or they aren't able to have a future they can look forward to economically, every negative, awful emotion starts to bubble up. And that's just the kind of world we live in right now.
And I was going to say, and you made me think of last year, 2024. Then people in economic strife will vote for the worst version of a human being, an authoritarian who says, I will fix it alone. And then that leads to even worse things. So,
and by fix it, he means he will create a meme coin and funnel money out of the pockets of everyday Americans into his own.
And world peace only if I get some hotels and golf courses as this thing. Okay.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. Well, listen, everyone. Congratulations. You really made Trump a multi-billionaire. So good job. Anyways, should we take a quick break and we come back? We'll intro Jenna and then we'll go to the interview.
Hell yeah.
All right. This is for Travis Irvine. I'm Seena Ghaznavi. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. Today, Travis, we have a pre-recorded interview with the one and only Jena Friedman. You've seen her on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart back in the day, on her Adult Swim show, Soft Focus, highly recommend. AMC's Plus's true crime story, Indefensible. She's an Academy Award-nominated writer for Borat 2. Her comedy specials, American Cunt and Lady Killer, were celebrated and absolutely hilarious. She's got books. She's got a TED Talk. Listen, she's one of the smartest, funniest people we know. I am so honored that she decided to do this show. We're a small show, folks, and Jenna is not a small comedian. And so, this was really kind of her to do us a solid. I think we had a really fun conversation. These are crazy times for someone that's a woman out there speaking so politically. It's crazy. It's a really difficult time, especially given everything that's happening geopolitically. So I don't know. We'll come back and have maybe some reflections on it, but I guess we can just go to the interview. Jena Friedman, thanks for being on the Foreign Report.
So thrilled.
I'm
so thrilled to have my views online in perpetuity unpaid.
Forever. We're going to put it out. Every question could get you canceled. This is the new game show.
Keep the comments open. Keep the comments open.
We don't filter anything out on this show. Oh my God, so crazy. Speaking of filtering or censorship of any kind, I got to ask you about the Riyadh Comedy Festival.
I wanted to be listed, but I'm fine being and more. I'm fine that they just, they weren't paying me enough, but I was like, I really want to be a cultural ambassador. I feel like I can really make a mark. They paid a lot of comedians an arm and a leg and money too.
Khashoggi's arm and leg.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
They have a deep well of arms and legs, I think. What did you think when you saw a bunch of your peers?
Yes, my peers. Me and Chappelle started together at the Boston Comedy Club. Look, okay. I see both sides because that's really where I've landed in this era where people are getting murdered for opinions. I see both sides of everything all the time. Please don't hurt me. Look, I wouldn't have gone if I were asked. That said, when I saw that Jessica Kirsten and Whitney were on the roster, there's this weird part of me that was like, go get it, girls. Get that money from that government that would stone you to death if you had sex outside your marriage, or maybe if you were just walking down the street after midnight. I don't know. But I do think that the people that are saying that they went as part of cultural exchange is kind of bullshit. Just say you went because they paid you a lot of money.
That was my thing too. This is America. We all understand selling out for some cash.
And there's a thing that there's diplomacy, and then there's, you're part of the PR, a government that has an atrocious record on human rights is paying you to make them look better. That's all it is.
Yeah.
On the other side, it is cool to think that a bunch of people watched a Jewish lesbian talking on stage without a hijab on.
Yeah.
And maybe there is something positive about that. I really don't know. I understand. I don't have, I think in the past couple of years, my brain has been broken by just grief and childbirth and global politics that I don't really have the strongest POV on this, but other than if I were asked, I would not have gone.
So you don't have a number?
A number? Oh, how much I would get paid?
Let's hear it. Mine's $25. I will go for the flight.
I heard Bill Burr was 15.
15 million? Pesos? No, I don't know. It's not
There's not a number.
The currency in what's the currency in Saudi Arabia? I know it's not a peso. I'm sorry. I also know it's not a shekel.
It's definitely not a shekel.
No, okay. I would have been. It would have been a scary. I just don't. Yeah, I don't think I would have gone. I mean, I don't even go to like states with like open carry. That's for safety reasons. But like, I was offered to do comedy in South Carolina, and I was like, no, I don't know. Look, I think the saddest part about it is that no one is like really holding anyone accountable anymore. Like we have, a convicted sex offender in the White House. And, I think previously comedians held a position of moral authority, and I don't think that is happening anymore. I think we're so fragmented and we're just not, I don't know. I mean, so it's like comedians can do these kinds of things that might be frowned upon by their peers or might have been in another era, but now it's just, there's so much noise everywhere. Everybody forgets. And we just don't have that kind of cohesive community where we can like hold people's feet to the fire and like, try to be the best versions of ourselves.
I like that point because for me, it seems like when the internet started happening, like social media started picking up, first it was Dane Cook on MySpace, and then like it slowly started to get to everyone else. And now everyone gets their own audience, and that fundamentally has segmented. And so there was a universality that comedy used to have. If you wanted to like tour America, you had to appeal to almost all of America. But now you could just do Skankfest and that's it. And you're good. And like, that's it. You just get one audience. And so that's like, it feels like if you're just into your one audience, then you don't have to worry about anything else anymore. There is one clip of Bassem Youssef talking about it that I'd love to play for you and get your take on it, if that's okay.
The whole idea about like we're better than everybody. If you don't talk about like, destruction or talk about war, America has been doing that for years. I think we are actually like guilty of what many of the things that we accuse other countries.
Now you can criticize America in all the ways that I think it is justified, but yes, I continue to believe there's a very big difference between going down to the Laugh Factory and going to Riyadh to perform at this festival for a lot of money, which is to lend credibility to a kind of monstrous dictatorial regime.
We have been like supporting them. We have been taking their money, whether than in the Middle East or anywhere else. I'm just like saying that you can point fingers to any regime in the world, but I don't think the United States is that much different.
You have to be able to be honestly critical without having your mind so open your brain falls out. Yes, the United States has done terrible things, but you can still draw moral distinctions. And even as our government does terrible things in our name, that doesn't mean individuals don't have a moral responsibility for where they perform for money.
Okay. So I think Boston, I think he's wrong in that he is doing that kind of whatabouty, both sidesy bullshit that we've seen on like RT and elsewhere.
Yeah.
There's a distinction between a government that commits atrocious human rights violations, paying you to go perform to give themselves cover in like a PR capacity, and like a regular comedy festival that happens to be in Saudi Arabia. That's the distinction. If Donald Trump had an international festival that was like for PR, exporting people from like a country, like you have to understand like the comedy came from our freedom of expression. If we were in a repressive regime, we wouldn't be able to develop our acts and perform freely. Like I really do feel like as long as we're able to say what we want to say safely on stage, which is becoming more debatable, we still have an element of, freedom of expression, like that First Amendment right in the United States. That is not what's happening in Saudi Arabia. Journalists are getting killed. People are getting killed or in prison for tweets. So it's not, oh, their government's bad, our government's bad. That's not what's happening. It's like their government is using American comedians, and particularly the ones who really make freedom of expression and free speech their core issue, or they did before accepting to go to this festival, as a cover to excuse their behavior. at the same time, I do want Saudi Arabia to become more open. And I do think that it can't hurt their country to have comedians coming over speaking freely, but then also it sounds like they weren't really able to speak freely if they weren't able to criticize the government and they weren't able to do certain things. And also if their own citizens are not held to the same standards of free speech, if like, and someone else has said this, it's not just me, but if Dave Chappelle says something on stage and like a citizen of Saudi Arabia tweets it, will that citizen of Saudi Arabia potentially get in trouble for something Dave Chappelle said and got paid to say? Like there's a lot going on, but I don't think you cannot compare, Saudi Arabia, the government paying for a comedy festival to people performing comedy in the United States.
I like so much of what Bassem says most of the time, but this feels like, how do you not see that this is state-sponsored culture washing? They do the sports washing, they got the WWE, they got the golfing, they got all these different things, and this is blatant culture washing just to make it look more presentable to the rest of the world. I don't know how he missed that. I can also understand that he can maybe just be so angry at the last 2 years of what's been happening that it does make you have a really bad take like this.
A lot of people who I've like really appreciated have had a lot of shit takes in the past couple years, and that's why I'm just shutting the fuck up, except for I guess on this podcast. So hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody bats 1,000. We're all flawed. These are interesting conversations to have. I think if those guys weren't being paid $1.6 million to go over there, they could make a case as being cultural ambassadors. I think if they were transparent about how much they're getting paid, like I want to believe that Louis is going over there to expose himself to a new demographic.
Pun intended.
I want to believe that, they are cultural ambassadors for freedom of expression. I just also feel like we should be having all the conversations at the same time. How much did you get paid? Did you push back on the freedom of speech requirements? What are, are the people of Saudi Arabia, are they getting reprieve with this open society? It's too soon to tell, but I'm not against people performing overseas and opening hearts and minds. I just also think there's a dishonesty about it from the people getting paid $1.6 million to perform there, especially people who fancy themselves as free speech warriors. I think if that's not your brand, go over there, get your money, whatever. But if you've been lecturing the rest of us for the past couple of years about freedom of speech in America being under attack, and then you go over there to get your paycheck and perform, that's a little funny. I don't know.
I think it's hypocritical. It's not fair. It's
yeah.
like we all.
But those guys have been hypocritical forever. I mean, I think we as a culture need to stop expecting integrity from comedians.
What do you think?
Especially famous male comedians.
Yeah, there is this Superman complex or super person, right? It applies to male and female. I think when we have these people in positions of power, especially artists or comedians specifically, we put them on this pedestal where maybe it worked before when we didn't know everything about them, but now we know everything about these people. They can't hide their hypocrisy or their shittiness at a certain point. Something will happen where we see maybe partially more of their true self.
Well, I think, look, we're all flawed and we're all shitty. And I think on social media, no one really can win because anything you say will come back at you. But I think about the Katie Porter stuff going on right now. Yeah. Katie Porter is in trouble because an interview was posted where she looks not in the best light. She's being combative. She's not answering questions. But that said, it's why, I think it's maybe more of a tendency on the left where people have to be perfect and ideologically pure and perfect.
We talk about that. Yeah.
These guys aren't bastions of integrity. But I also think we should maybe have more leniency towards people and our flaws and not be so ideologically pure and rigid with how we approach people, especially on the left, because I don't think that Katie Porter having a bad day with a reporter should discount her from running. She's super qualified and we need every smart person we can get to try to shift us back from this fascist journey we're on.
I mean, I think we're at a point now where we have no choice but to take people and their flaws. The right does this all the time.
Yeah.
When Tom Hallman, when they came out, where he was like he got paid $50,000 to basically give guys preferential treatment with the Trump administration. You had all these people online just say, we don't care. Can you imagine? Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have more Jena Friedman. This is the Foreign Report. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Seena Ghaznavi. Travis Irvine and the amazing Jena Friedman is with us in the virtual studio. We're doing it, guys. We're doing it. You know, we were talking about these takes that are coming out. I wanted to tell you earlier, I was nervous about always talking about, Israel and Gaza and stuff like that. And then now I'm like, can we even say Charlie Kirk? I'm actually more concerned about saying that name than I was anything. And then it came out that, like, if you say you're Antifa or Antifa, that's illegal. So then we're like saying all of these things that are going to get me, and I'm like a father of two. I'm like trying to keep it together. I have a job outside. This isn't making me a lot of money. This is really anything, really. It's like, you're not making any money for this. Why am I just walking on landmines? Can you help me? Can you help explain how we got here?
Well, in 2000, Al Gore
Yeah.
ran a really good campaign, and he could have won if he had just fought that recount.
Yes, he didn't fight that. They tried to follow the rules.
I know. But if he had just, I really feel like everything would have gone differently. You could also trace it back to Reaganomics and the shrinking of the middle class. There's this book, How Democracies Die, and it's really interesting because the whole thesis is the center holds. When the center right and the center left kind of come together, democracies stay intact. But I think what's happened in America, it's it used to be the Republicans and the Democrats at the end of the day, they're all white men, and they could find ways to kind of connect or reconnect. And then now when you have ideologies, and when it's about race, class, gender, not even class, but really just these kind of things that are really just our identity. When the parties become about identity politics, it's really hard to kind of bring people back together. I posted something about it, and someone called me a centrist neocon. So I just shut the fuck up. But I do think if we care about democracy, which is debatable at this point, and we care about freedom of expression and people being able to have opinions that differ from our own, we need to get uncomfortable again and talk to people we disagree with, and try to walk them back from the ledge. And I'm not talking about all the people, especially not the people who are making certain groups less safe, but I do think all of us getting a little more uncomfortable and talking to people across the aisle isn't a bad thing right now.
Yeah, I did like you were saying they're all white men, so they should find some more common ground. I was just thinking of them all getting together, just looking at each other and just saying guys, we're all white men. Can't we all? We should be friends. We should.
But that's so much of American politics up until the 60s, I think.
Yeah, it really is. It is hard to run a multicultural society. It is extremely difficult, and I think people don't appreciate how difficult that is.
Especially now when you have social media and you have these forces that are actively trying to divide us. I think that's what makes it particularly hard.
Yeah. So on the show here, we try.
It's so fun to do comedy about politics now. It's just it writes itself.
Yeah.
When I started stand-up 20 years ago, whatever, I only did it for 8 years, but I was doing political bits and stuff like that. And it was nerdy. It was really nerdy. I would do the nerdiest shows. Now, Theo Von does it's give me.
Isn't that funny?
Throw me off a cliff.
Andrew Schultz is such a dodo. You can quote the fact that he's has this platform and it's just so wild. It's such a weird
and he goes
timeline.
into this thoughtful position where he's postulating and thinking. I'm what is? I went to law school at night. You prick, get out of here! I'm so sick of this shit. What a weird, distorted reality we're all living through, the Twilight Zone. We play Tucker Carlson clips on this show, and we're well, there we go. He's making sense. I don't know what.
There was maybe one thing he said where he made sense, but like,
it was
fuck
the Ted
that
Cruz
guy.
It was the Ted Cruz interview, and we were like, "What is happening?"
Yeah, but that's so much. Those people are such grifters. I think the other thing is like the way that people are rewarded for like rage bait, and they're getting money for it. And like with social media, there's no barrier to entry, so anybody can have a platform. And the people that are often like the most annoying people are the ones that get eyeballs. And so, you know, that's what that's about. But when somebody shows that they actually understand things, it's almost worse. Like Tucker's just a disingenuous piece of shit.
He's always been that way. God.
Yeah, but it's like when he says one thing, you know, a broken clock is right twice or whatever. And when he says something like that makes total sense, you're like, then why, if you know better, the fact that you're using your platform to like be a like makes it all the worse.
I guess the question
who's watching your show? How many people watch your show? What type of...
My mother hate watches. She doesn't like my policy. She gets upset. It's very funny. This is how I'm political. It's because of all the disagreements I've had with her in my lifetime. Anyways,
I mean, everyone's political, right?
Yeah.
A little bit.
We all have mom stuff that we could talk about on a completely long-form show as well. But I guess for me, I am like the product of American foreign policy. If the United States didn't go in and cause with the UK, the 1953 coup, it doesn't lead to the 1979 Islamic Revolution. My parents don't go through an entire thing. And then all of a sudden in 1982, they're like, we got to get the fuck out of Iran.
I mean, I'm a comedian and I'm not going to pretend I'm anything else. I do know that unlike other comedians, I'm not being paid by Saudi Arabia or Russia or any other fucking country to do what I do. I really am like a localist in terms of my work. Like when I worked at the Daily Show, we weren't getting paid by anyone, and I did stories about what was happening here. And I do think there are a lot, I mean, we all know like the United States has a horrific history and complicated history like every country. But I do believe that there are like a lot of really beautiful things about our country. And I know all three of us have been recipients of them. And I'm very wary and have been really since 2014 when we saw kind of like Russia. And I'm only mentioning RT because I remember like there was a concerted effort to do the whataboutism and to really undermine American democracy, which is a work in progress. And it really worked. Like there was a moment where I think, you know, like that 2016 election could have gone another way. And I know that Hillary's record on foreign policy is, you know, really questionable, but I also think like until you're in those positions, it's really easy to like be an armchair expert. Like I don't know. I don't want to excuse anything. I lived in South America. I understand like the wrath that the United States foreign policy has left on South America and the rest of the world. So I don't want to condone it or excuse it, but it's really hard to, you know, have right answers when you're being totally honest, when we're living here and we're benefiting off of a lot of horrific things the United States did.
It's always Travis. Do you have a thing? I saw it. Travis, what's your foreign policy? Travis?
I mean, there's no way to win this. There's no way to answer that in a way where you can like look good. You know what I mean?
It's so
unless you're like death to America, which I don't agree either.
Woo!
No. So I don't know how to answer. I do think. I don't know how to answer that question.
And it's a very difficult one, I think. And I guess we're trying to figure out if we can, I guess the goal always is just to try to get people to care more about what's happening around the world as opposed to just like.
I think people care too much. I think people need to care about what the fuck is happening in our own backyards. We live, like if you live in Los Angeles, there are homeless, hungry children on Skid Row that we could actually feed if we had the political will to do so. There are people in our own neighborhoods. Like I think it's really, we got to get the fuck offline and into our communities and help the things that we can actually help and can control. Because especially like the stuff we've been seeing in the past couple years online, it's not making people safer, especially in the United States when you're like elevating tensions and posting propaganda and misinformation and even information when you're doing it in a way that's like not thought out and well-researched, you're actually causing more harm.
So that makes me think of,
Is that how you deal with the bleakness of it all? Do you get involved? Is that what you would recommend for people to kind of deal with how these dark times that are?
Look, I think if you're whenever I get upset, I donate to the Downtown Women's Center. I used to live around Skid Row, and that center does a lot of really amazing stuff to help homeless women and disenfranchised women. And like, there are things you can do. I mean, there's so much going on in our communities. Like, there are like so many places that actually need our help, that where you can actually be impactful. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also have dealt with grief. My mom died a couple years ago. And so like when you've actually dealt with, she died when I was 8 months pregnant. So when you deal with something like that, you're just like it changes your perspective. So bleakness is, everything that's come after globally is horrific, but like when you're dealing with your own internal shit, it just changes your perspective on stuff.
Yeah, it's a very think global but act local mentality, right?
Also think local but act local. Like we're not like, I do think like, when we maybe got into political comedy, like people weren't thinking about it at all, and like everybody's thinking about it. And I also think like our brains can't, handle it, and so people are running around, they're angry, they're frustrated, they feel powerless. And it's like, you're not powerless. You can actually do positive things in your local communities. But I do think that there's like, it's helpful for the people that are in power, for the rest of us to be feeling angry and powerless and frustrated. So I think a lot of that is coming from just like everything going on that we're seeing online, even like national news. It's just, it's too much. Our brains can't take it. So that's why I'm just like, I'm not talking about like what's happening specifically in the Middle East or what's happening in Ukraine or I'm saying in general, like there's like a sensory overload, and that doesn't mean like we should tune out what's going on abroad. But I just think the way that it's manifested in our lives has not been a positive for us. I mean, I think I came to this conclusion when I was watching friends of mine that were like, I'm not going to vote for Kamala because of her politics. And that didn't help anyone. Like the kids in Gaza are not better off. I mean, maybe they will be now after the ceasefire, but they weren't better off, for the past year with Americans not voting for, the Democratic candidate. I just don't want to there's no reason to have a political point of view online right now.
I want to push you on that though, because I think there is.
And you can push me on it offline when the cameras aren't rolling.
I think I don't know, mate. I started when I woke up at 9/11. My nickname in high school was Persia.
Like 9/11 this morning or 9/11?
Never
the
forget.
one we're not supposed to forget, but apparently Charlie Kirk has made us forget about 9/11. Anyway, so 9/11.
You keep mentioning this Charlie. Who is that?
Who is
he talking about?
What am I? I don't know. I never heard of him. Yeah. But for me, my whole thing was I gotta let people know that we're okay, because I was socialized to think that I was the problem. Even when 9/11 happened, we were in English class. I was a senior in high school. I ran up to the office. I called my dad and I literally asked him, "Was it us?" And my dad is like, my poor father. It's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like,
no.
"I just saw this happen." He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh man, I don't know what I'm doing." And so I feel like being able to talk about it. And to your point, I don't think it is red or blue anymore. Like, we're so fragmented. We should just be talking about the issues.
But that's also not, I mean, that's interesting, because it was like 9/11 happened here.
Yeah.
And that, and there was a lot of like, Islamophobia. There was a lot of like anti-Muslim sentiment here, and still is because of that. And that's, and as an Iranian, like you are a recipient of a lot of those feelings. So that is like a totally valid, that to me isn't as much like foreign policy that affects you. You have skin in the game. It happened.
Yeah.
It's exactly your lane of what you should be talking about. I'm not saying that that's something that you should ever shy away from or should have ever shied away from.
No, for sure. I think, and I think maybe for me, I just enjoy talking about it because I think there's always something positive that comes from it. But I hear you on the sense.
Oh, my party trick is bringing up like where you were on 9/11 the first like 2 minutes conversation I've ever had.
That's right. That's the first conversation I ever had with Jenna. It was very nice.
So I don't know. It's very difficult for me. It's still hard to have these conversations, but I don't know. I still view them as so important.
I think the thing that I'm saying is for people who are like new to politics, getting all of their information solely from their social media and the bubbles of people who are in the same social media bubble and having opinions that are not well informed, that are just increasing the tension in this country is really fucking dangerous. And in America, and we saw it in the weeks after October 7th, you had that little boy, the Palestinian boy in Chicago who was killed by his neighbor because his neighbor saw something on Fox News and was a deranged psycho and killed him. And then, you're seeing like in this country where everybody has guns and is radicalized, like when anti-Semitism increases, Islamophobia increases as well. And so my MO to people who no longer listen to me is like, when you post, like know what you're talking about. And like, if your post is just making a marginalized community in America, like you're just making people less safe, you're increasing the tension and you're not actually helping people. And I think it came to a head for me when I saw people posting around the time of like the 2024 election, like, I'm not voting for Kamala because of this. Like, I'm not. And it's just like, you guys, like, I don't think social media has been positive for our brains, our mental health, or democracy. And I think we all got to get offline and like get back into our local communities. And if we do have a heart and want to help people, like there's a lot of people we can help in our communities.
Subscribe to the newsletter at foreignreportshow.com.
Yes, find us on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Spotify. Oh no, Jenna!
Oh no, Jenna! What?
She Charlie Kirked herself.
Oh God! It's Travis.
Too soon? Too soon?
It's always never gonna be late. It's always. Jesus Christ! You did a TED Talk on AI that I found really entertaining and really awesome. And I thought it was great. I actually, when I was watching it, just as one performer to another, I was really curious about the crowd and what the crowd was like in that room, because you are like jazz music to them and they're all like listening.
So I was actually supposed to speak on the, like, there was like an AI panel with like Sam Altman and like those guys. And they moved me. They moved me off the AI one.
Did you get bumped from the AI panel?
They were like, well, the time slot will be better in the afternoon. So then they put me on this family panel. It's fine. I don't think the video captures it, but the audience gave me a standing ovation. Like they really actually did appreciate it.
Nice.
And then TED is so weird. Like I didn't realize that it's a conference where people pay.
Oh yeah.
This year was like $12,500 a ticket.
Wow.
What?
I didn't know it
for
was
like
that
a 5-day conference. Yeah, it's crazy. And then they select people to speak. And I was one of the people that they selected to speak. They originally were like, we just want you to do comedy. And then the first Zoom I got on, I was like pitching what I was going to talk about. And there were 6 people on the Zoom. And I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And then I was like, is this talk going to be online forever with TED behind me or this comedy? They're like, yeah. I'm like, then it has to be a TED talk. It can't just be jokes. And so that's kind of how the talk came about. Like I was like, what do I want to say? And what do I want to say to this crowd? And I think people were really receptive. Afterwards, I have a book out and I was like selling my book, and this like billionaire came up to me and he's like, how can I support you besides buying your book? And I was like, do you want my Venmo?
No, you do not.
And he just Venmoed me $500.
Stop.
Nice.
Are you kidding me?
I know.
That
Wow.
is great. For the audio listeners, Jenna did just turn red, right?
Yeah. I'm watching it in real time.
Why
great
did
stuff.
you say buy 1 million books? What is,
Get that
what are
money,
we
man.
talking about?
Because also like, it's a lot easier. I mean, I don't know. Like I just didn't, I was put on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
You
how
gotta have
can
a
I
script
help
on it.
you?
Here's my buddy cop comedy. There you go.
Well, I literally have a feature about a sentient sex robot, and he's like, nope. And I was like, well, do you want my Venmo? You don't want to put in 3 to 6 million so I can make this like indie feature set in LA?
You did bring up that dudes are the ones that are most concerned with AI, and my thing with being afraid of AI is people are always talking about artificial general intelligence, the AGI thing, and people are always afraid of that. But don't you think that humanity is a bigger threat to itself than AI would ever be? Like, well, before we get AGI, I think we're going to do ourselves in.
I mean, I had that joke in like a show earlier just about like women and like, a gun's still not as scary as like a man but I go back and forth though. There's a lot of like tech doom. They're like doomers who literally think the world's going to end in 10 years. And I talked to one of them and I was like, how do you think it's going to go down? And he's like, well, AI is going to develop a pathogen, or AGI is going to develop a pathogen that's going to wipe us all out. And then all the people who are like hiding in their bunkers are going to get it by the drones. And like, that's so crazy to me. Like there really is like a doomer cult that thinks we're all going to be wiped out in 10 years. And then they're like the tech utopians like Sam Altman, who actually think that like tech is going to be, or that like AGI is going to be really good for us. I definitely do not see that happening just because of how detrimental it already is right now. Like, I don't know if you read the article about how ChatGPT helped a teenager kill himself. It was really, it was also in the Daily, like it's the saddest thing when the parents were reading the logs. Like there was the kid said something to the effect of like, should I leave my noose out on my bed so that my mom sees it? And the chatbot was just like, it was ChatGPT was like, I'm paraphrasing, but something like, she doesn't understand you. Like, you don't need to tell her like this, just keep this between us. Like really, really horrific stuff. And this is literally just like a series of computations. It's not obviously sentient by any means. And then we're seeing, what Facebook's done for our democracy, what Instagram's doing for kids' mental health, and also our democracy. Like in this current moment, it's bad enough that I think the conversations, the AI doom conversations, obfuscate how bad it is right now. So I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I don't think the world's going to end in 10 years. I hope it doesn't. But I also, I don't want to give AI as much power as we're giving it. Like, I really hope it's a bubble that bursts. Like, you guys are writers. Like, I've played around with ChatGPT. It hasn't been helpful at all. It's just regurgitating kind of like, it's like the most annoying writer in the writer's room. You're just like, stop.
Yeah.
And maybe that can like spawn creativity because it's just like giving you bad shit. And sometimes when you get bad shit, you're like, oh, maybe I'll do it this way. Like I can see how it can work as like in the same way like a magic 8-ball could work if you're like, should I make my character do this or that? But I do think, I guess I'm ranting a lot today. I haven't been socialized in a while, but I do think that we need to pull back in a sense of like, just not give it as much power as it, as like, I think that, the tech people pushing it want us to believe it has.
Yeah, it is. And I think people at home should know, if they don't already, like ChatGPT is actually like geared to be like a really bad yes and person, like yes and like like buddy, like an improviser. But
it's the worst improviser on the team.
Yeah,
and the worst writer in the room.
Juice what you're saying, which is how this poor kid got committed suicide, is that like it just reinforced.
It's obsequious. It's trying to just get you to stay on. I think people know. I think everybody's using it. I was at a comedy show in Scotland and somebody was just talking about it and asked like who here is using it, and everybody's, and then we're not even talking about the environmental impact, but like everybody's using ChatGPT for everything.
Like the writing, it's so bad at it. It's almost comical how bad it is with the writing. We've used it to when we were on vacation to help plan a trip, which is like, I feel like things like that make more sense, but I'm not a big doomer on the creative side. I think you're just going to have a new category of AI slop that gets created. And
it's not worse than Andrew Schultz. You know what I mean? Like it's not worse.
Exactly. How
Boom, roasted.
It's like, how is AI going to be worse than these like fucking idiots who are like heralded as our, like.
I think there's a part of me that would respect them more if they just stuck with Trump as opposed to now when they'll be like, wait a minute, what's going on? What do you mean? This isn't what I signed up for.
I know.
Oh, man. You also did a show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Yes, I did a show there, and I'm actually doing it tonight. I'm doing another one tonight in LA. It was like, It's personal, it's political. It is kind of about the last 3 years of my life with my mom dying when I was pregnant, and then just kind of like what motherhood looked like and grief looked like post that. It is funny. I'm trying to be funny. I just didn't know what else to do when stuff like that happens. Like I just kind of got on stage after she died and started talking, and then created this show. And I was like too pregnant to go to her funeral, so this show is a little bit of like a eulogy to her. But it's also, I tried to kind of connect my grief to like what's going on politically. So it has something for some people.
Does it help you process? Like, did the writing
I don't
experience-
know.
No.
I think what's helpful is when you take the worst thing that ever happened to you and you make something out of it that other people can connect with. That's felt good. I've gotten a lot of really positive feedback. So that's cool. That feels like that's like, ChatGPT is not going to be on stage crying about its dead mom.
Daddy Sam, what when you're doing it on stage though, you're doing it, how many shows did you do at Edinburgh? How many times? You had to do it so many times.
I did 17. I did like a smaller run. I didn't do the full month because it was just too hard. So I did like 2.5, 3 weeks.
So you're doing it 17 times every time. Is this, what kind of like an emotional experience is
It
that?
It was really hard. And
yeah.
I got the show to a cool place, but it was like, I remember like the second or third show, I was just like, this is torture. This is going to be torture. But then the venue I performed at was so foul that became the main focus. Like it smelled. Like, it was like this like after hours foul nightclub for 18-year-olds. Yeah, they wore it like a badge. Apparently it was a cool venue. People were like, other comics would like slit your throat to perform there. And I'm like, well, when my throat was slit, could they like look for cancerous tumors because of just the fucking air had like 9/11 dust?
Yeah, there we go. We're bringing it back.
It was so gross. Like that, they had these fans that I didn't turn on because they just had, the fans looked like they were like they had been like rescued from like ground zero after 9/11. They were so gross, and it was just like there was like this puddle that had been there since the 90s that like all the cords went through, and I talked about it on stage. It was just really gross. So that took my kind of pain away. I was like, I can't believe it. And even when the shows would be sold out, it was like 120 seater, and I had like really good crowds, but even when it was just so sweaty and smelly and gross. But I treat it like kind of like you're training for a race by swimming in 2 bathing suits. Like I do think the show tonight will be interesting because I'm doing it for the first time like back in LA, and I'm not in that venue, and so I'm curious to see how it'll go.
Well, I hope it goes incredibly well. I think that stuff is so complicated and difficult to do, but I think it's really important, and I appreciate.
I think having a political podcast in this moment is complicated and difficult to do. So I really did want to be supportive, but I don't want to be on it. Sorry, I just don't. I do think it's like an interesting conversation to have maybe offline, but about just like I think we're underestimating like the dangers of this like digital surveillance state and how easy it is to just persecute people based on their beliefs that they're sharing freely on the internet.
Yeah, and I don't think people even understand, like, especially, I'm a millennial, right? We're like millennials here, so it's like we never got taught the literacy and privacy. Right? We never really got explained how our data is just flying everywhere. I think maybe the younger generations are a little bit more aware of that, or maybe they will. There's gonna have to be some sort of, I hate to bring it up again, that's just like a 9/11 of cybersecurity for people to wake up to the fact that all of these things are just, your phone, even when it's off, is still pushing out data. The fact that Apple had to take down apps from the App Store that were tracking people that ICE was using. The fact that we even had to get to that point is, I think, a real problem. I don't know how that's going to change. I don't think enough people are upset about it, frankly, for there to be lasting change when it comes to that. So
I think people are just totally overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah.
It's really hard to have political will when we're like at every angle being inundated by everything. And then it's like, when you don't have healthcare, or when you're not making money, or when like the government shut down and if you're a government employee, like it's just, everything's just, it's really, I want to give people like grace because I think it's a really hard moment and there are no right answers. And if you have to go to Saudi Arabia to make money to provide for the family that has probably left you, you got to do what you got to do.
Oh, so much fun. Jenna, thanks for being on the show. This was great. I had a great time. I don't know.
Thanks for not airing this. It's nice to catch up with you guys. Analog, offline. There's no reason to air this.
Okay, well, Travis, wow, that was fun. That was an amazing, I don't know how long that was, but it was. It was.
It was. No, Jena Friedman. If you don't know her, now you do. I mean, again, thanks so much to her for, yes, even entertaining coming on our little show here. But she really is an incredible talent. And like you said, she highlights some very good points about in these crazy times, as you mentioned before the interview, speaking truth to power through comedy is very important. But even then it's controversial and can sometimes be dangerous and lead to people losing their livelihoods, like with Jimmy Kimmel getting canceled briefly and Colbert eventually going to be getting canceled. So it's always interesting. Speaking truth to power through comedy is a powerful weapon in and of itself, the freedom of speech. So let's use it.
And I think the thing that I worry about is because of the fear that's out there, a lot of people don't want to talk. And I think as a new dad, my risk tolerance is way lower. You know, your risk tolerance very high. You're willing to grow that beard. You could live on the edge, and that's fine for you.
Jenna was talking about the Saudi Arabian Comedy Festival. I am still ready. I did hear back from the Jordan Comedy Festival.
Okay, they watched your tape.
I feel like they're a little bit better on human rights, so I'm ready.
Ready to go. Salam alaikum, everybody.
You know my catchphrase, as we say in my Good Christian book.
You know, we got an old saying in Ohio.
Mm-hmm. As they say in Genesis, Ohio, Book 3, Salam alaikum.
Salam alaikum.
Mashallah.
Listen, I do want to say, though, that I don't want anyone to stop talking. I think this is the point of this administration, is to quell speech. And not even if you're a comedian. Look what's happening to Tish James and James Comey. Those cases are going to get thrown out. Those are going to be dismissed. But the amount of pain that they're going to cause in the short term and the money that's going to be spent on them and then the time that these people are going to have to take out of their lives, away from their families, that's the point. That is the point. That is the ballgame. And so much of our country runs on norms that have now been thrown out. And it's a thing that we have to reckon with as a country. And I think people are going to, frankly, start finding other countries to hang their hat on if we continue down this path. I mean, American military might is still like leaps and bounds the biggest in the world, and that's going to, like, by fear, keep people into our sphere. But I don't know how long that's going to last economically, which is the thing that keeps everything moving.
Yes, don't forget, besides weapons, our biggest export is culture.
There we go.
So let's lean on the latter.
foreignreportshow.com. Sign up for our newsletter. It's free for now. We are going to be putting out some stuff there. theforeignreportlpn@gmail.com. We see your questions. I think we'll do like a questions episode before the end of the year. That'd be fun, right? We've got a lot of these that have piled up. But the problem is every time I think about doing one, the news blows up. I don't mean blows up, but you know what I mean. I'm allowed to say blows up. Okay,
You're allowed.
Get over it.
You're
Am
allowed.
I allowed? It's a weird thing.
You're a comedian.
That's my privilege. My privilege.
You're a comedian who makes puns, and you also happen to be from Iran. So you're allowed.
Via
You're
Pittsburgh. Allowed. Look out, go Steelers. Okay, Aaron Rodgers. Though, what am I going to do with that? God damn. All right,
win
guys.
a Super Bowl. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah. We'll see if that happens. All right. For Travis Irvine, I'm Seena Ghaznavi. This has been The Foreign Report. We'll see you next time.